Welcome, everyone, to coverage on HDNet of the Little 500, one of the greatest sports Illustrated called it the greatest intramural event in college competition. Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Lewis, and I am in the press box here at Bill Armstrong Stadium on the campus of Indiana University as we get set for the 53rd running for the men of the Little 500 bicycle race and the 16th running for the women. This is an event like no other that you have seen on television. It's not a traditional bicycle race. It is a lot of fun, and it is a campus happening. Working with me, a veteran of this competition, Jason Sonnenborn. And Jason was a member of the Delta Chi team. You twice finished in the top 5. You were twice an all-star rider, and it's got to be very nice for you to be back.
It's a joy to be back, Greg. It's a pleasure to come out here and see these young people out here competing in the same event that I did year after year.
And we also have another member of our broadcast team who is well known to all cycling fans. He is a veteran of the U.S. Postal Service team and is the current reigning champion of time trial riding in the U.S., and that is Dylan Casey. This is the first time you've seen this event.
Yeah, Greg, I can't believe how big this event is, and I'm just really excited for tomorrow's race.
Well, we're going to have a lot of fun. We also have another member of our broadcast team, Anne-Marie Bonas. She'll be telling the stories from down on the track among the sorority and fraternities that are cheering for their riders. Let's check in with her now. Anne-Marie?
Thank you very much, Greg. Well, I am out here on a very empty track, but a few hours ago it was absolutely packed with screaming fans for the women's race. Now, the neatest thing about Little Five is that this experience extends far beyond the track. It's an entire community event. The Bloomington campus celebrates it for a week, and it's really an amazing experience, one that you really have to be here for to really totally comprehend. And the other neat thing about this experience is that it lasts an entire lifetime. I have with me today Larry Geese, who was a member of the 1966 Phi Little Five team. And Larry, can you tell me, why do people want this experience to not just last their 4 years of college, but they really want it to be a part of their entire life?
Oh, Anne-Marie, it's exciting. It's a production. It's a spectacle comparable to the Indianapolis 500. You have to be here to see it, and then you understand.
Well, great. Thank you very much, Larry, for joining us, and we'll throw it back up to you guys.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. We've set up this mention of the Little 500 and the Indianapolis 500. The Indianapolis 500 really was the basis for this event. Let's talk a little bit about how it all began in the tradition here, Jason.
Yeah, that's very true, Greg. We're very fortunate enough. Howdy Wilcox, whose father actually won the Indianapolis 500 in 1919. The story goes and the rumor goes that he was on campus in his dormitory and saw some young men whipping around campus that night. He saw it. He saw they were competing. They were having fun. People were hanging out of their dormitories, enjoying it. Said, what a great idea. Let's have an intramural event. Let's have a bike race. Now we have Little Five.
Well, Little Five is now in its 53rd year, and it has grown and grown and grown. What kind of attendance can we expect here?
Well, after the movie Breaking Away in 1979, which actually won an Academy Award, the race really pinnacled in 1986. We saw 30,000 people here. We've seen celebrities such as David Letterman. Lance Armstrong was here in 1997. The race has featured Olympian riders such as Wayne Stetton. It's incredible. It's an intramural event, but I say it rivals a varsity sport at most universities.
And we will see the men's event here tomorrow live on HDNet. It'll start at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. One of the things about this competition that's very interesting is the sort of bike that the riders compete on. It's unlike the bike that you would see Dylan Casey or a Lance Armstrong ride on when they race on the road. Let's take a little closer look. Anne-Marie had a chance to go to a bike shop and do some comparison shopping.
Thanks, Greg. I'm here at Bloomington Cycle and Fitness, and while it's raining outside, we decided to move indoors today and take a look at some of the equipment that the Little 500 riders use. Now, we've got two riders with us today. Kappa Kappa Gamma's team has offered us Meg Haney and Allison Edwards. And the girls are going to discuss with us the difference between their road bikes, training bikes, and their race bikes. So Allison, what can you tell us about some of the differences?
Okay, there's several key differences between the road bikes that we ride on the road and then our track bike for Little Five. And I would have to say the biggest difference would be that our track bike has only one chainring, as you can see right here. It's just one single chainring. You can't change the gears. Whereas on the road bike, you can. You have many options for climbing and racing and stuff like that. Another difference would be the weight of the bike. Our Little 500 Mongooses are a lot heavier than a typical road bike would be, mostly because you're climbing outside with the road bike. And also for exchanges, they're a lot more durable with the weight, so they don't fall as easily.
Sure.
And then one of the other things would be the wheels are a lot more tough. You tend to get flats more often on the road, whereas these rarely flat because they're tougher because we ride on a cinder track.
Right.
And so they're just more durable.
Now, how do these type of tires fare in weather like today when there's rain out on the track?
They're actually just fine. Yeah, I mean, obviously the rain's gonna make the track a little bit more slick at times, but these work just great. The tread is pretty tough, and we've never had problems in the rain, so.
They're pretty well equipped.
Yeah.
Well, Meg, do you have any other differences you'd like to point out for us?
Yes. One of the differences is how the brakes work. On your regular road bike, you brake up here on the handlebars, but during the race, these are kickback brakes, and it's used for when you're doing exchanges and jumping on and off the bike, and it's just an easier, more simplistic way of braking, kind of like when you're a kid. And the pedals are also a little bit old school. We clip into our road bikes because of, again, climbing purposes and things with our shoes, but these, we just wear regular tennis shoes and you're just jumping on and off. So
Obviously, with a lot of exchanges, it's not good to be locked in. Now, do you guys use both of these bikes? So how do you integrate that into your training? When do you train with one? When do you train with the other?
Well, it alternates depending on what part of the season we're in. Typically, when you're in Bloomington and the weather's nice, you're out on the roads, and you definitely need a road bike to be climbing and stuff like that. But there's times on training trips where we'll take our mongooses with us and we'll train on those too. Because these take more power than a typical road bike because you can't spin as easily because the gear it's not a spinning gear. It's pretty difficult. So you need more power.
Strength.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's good to mix both of them into your training.
But is it difficult at all when you first, finally make the
Adjusting.
transition to your race bike?
It's a little different, but you get used to it pretty
used
quickly.
to real fast. Like we'll train on our road bikes in the beginning of the season when the track finally opens. Then a lot of our workouts will be geared towards the track, so they'll be on these bikes, and we can make the adjustment pretty fast.
So by race day, you're definitely used
Definitely,
to
yes.
your new bike.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing you guys have got the exchanges down, the speed down. You're ready for a good race day.
Yep, we're
Yeah,
ready.
we're excited.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much, girls, for
You're
being
welcome.
with
No
us.
problem.
And we'll leave it back to you guys now.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. When we return to Bill Armstrong Stadium on the campus of Indiana University, we'll look at the start of the women's race, the 16th running of the women's Little 500 held earlier today. Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the Little 500. We're going to join the women's race held earlier today in just a couple of minutes. But first, let's take a look again at this bike with Dylan Casey. Now, you've ridden on a lot of bikes and very high-end bikes. It's been a long time since you've ridden on a bike like this.
Yeah, that's for sure. Probably maybe when I was about 10 years old. But really the big difference between this bike and the bikes that we use at US Pulse Service are the fact that it doesn't have any handbrakes. And what that means is that you can't make slow or minor changes to your speed out there. So if somebody in front of you makes a mistake, all of a sudden you're going to have a huge chain reaction, and that's when we're going to see some good pileups tomorrow.
And there are always pileups in this race. Now, another big difference would be that there are 4 riders per team, but there are a maximum of 2 bicycles per team. So it's a little bit of a challenge to adjust the seat post height, because if you and I were trying to use the same bike, talk about the problems that would cause.
Yeah, Greg, we'd have a tough time because that really makes a big difference on the amount of power that you can put down to the pedals, because you got to have your saddle in the exact right position. So that's definitely something that the coaches are going to have to figure out, and they're going to have to implement that into their strategy tomorrow.
Well, now let's take a look at the start of the women's race, the 16th running of the women's Little 500 held earlier today here at Bill Armstrong Stadium on the campus of Indiana University. At Bill Armstrong Stadium in Bloomington, Indiana, on the campus of Indiana University, a tradition continues. It's the 16th running of the women's Little 500. Greg Lewis, along with Jason Sonneborn, a veteran of 4 competitions in the men's event, and the men's competition, of course, coming up later tomorrow. But now the women are on their pace lap. There are 11 rows, just as there are at the Indianapolis 500. 3 teams per row, and it's time to set the field, Jason. Row number 1, and these are all favorites. Phi Mu Alpha Chi, and Kappa Kappa Gamma.
Yes, Greg. You have to like every one of these teams' chances coming from the first row. One of our favorites today, Kappa Kappa Gamma, certainly a strong team, storied tradition. They actually placed five young women in the top 15 in individual time trials. So look for a great performance out of the team in white today, Kappa Kappa Gamma.
In the second row, Delta Zeta, Athena, and Kappa Alpha Theta.
Kappa Alpha Theta, and you can't count them out as well. They won the race a couple years back in the year 2000. Their perspective on the race, they're the women's team actually responsible for a women's race today in the 16th running. They attempted to qualify for the men's race in the late 80s, weren't successful. However, the Student Foundation thought it was a great enough idea. Go ahead the next year and form a women's race.
In row 3, Speed, Kappa Delta, and Alpha Gamma Delta. Now, Speed, is that just an optimistic name, or are they really a solid team?
I think they actually have a chance today. They're a contender as well. They have 2 veteran riders. Look for a strong showing out of them. Alpha Gamma Delta features Corey Bitzer, who won the individual time trials for the women. She might be one of the fastest women on the track.
Row 4, Teeter, Roadrunners, the defending champions, and Delta, 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 Tri-Delta.
I think this is also going to be a strong row. Don't count the Roadrunners out. They don't have quite the strength that they have last year. They're in yellow. Never count last year's champion out.
Row 5, Alpha Phi, Alpha Chi Delta,
That's Alpha AZD, Alpha Z Delta.
Alpha Z Delta,
they actually
excuse me,
did,
and Alpha Delta Pi.
Greg, they did really well in team pursuit. AZD did. I think they were in the top 5. Team pursuit's a great measure of how the overall strength of a team. Look for a strong showing from them today as well.
Row 6, Psychedelics. Row 7 now, Chi Omega, the Army ROTC team, Pi Beta Phi. As we get back further, this means that the teams didn't qualify as well, less likely for those late starting teams in the back rows to really be contenders, although teams have come in as high as second place from row 10, row 8.
You'll see teams moving up. The real challenge is, since a lot of the stronger girls are on the front today, starting in the first 3 rows, the pace is going to be very hot, very quick right from the start, and that makes it tough for the teams in the back to kind of move up because they're going to be stuck in the wind, stuck on the outside, trying to gain spots.
So the warm-up laps, or the pace laps, continuing here, and we'll be underway in just a moment. We're joined now by another member of our broadcast team, Dylan Casey, of course, a great road cyclist, veteran of the U.S. Postal Team, and at this moment, the U.S. champion in time trials, so he's going to understand the challenge out here. Nice to have you with us as the women get set to start lap 1.
Here we go. It's the 16th running. You can see them spread apart. Each row has to be. Phi Mu takes the lead as Kappa Kappa Gamma. You'll see Kappa slip in. They're going to try to ride a wheel around that first turn. It's a windy day, especially on the front stretch. Kind of want to hide yourself behind the rider in front of you, bring involved a little bit of the drafting, take a little bit of the load off.
Well, you're right. It's been a blustery cold day, a lot of rain today, Jason, and it has now stopped raining. But according to you think the track is actually in better condition because of the rain.
The track gets quicker with more water that's dumped on it. Overnight it rained all night. Look for a pretty fast track today. This is actually ideal, and the fact that it's not raining right now, it's not good for the fans in the seats, but it's great for the girls on the track.
Alpha Gamma Delta leads after the first lap, but of course for the women there are 100 laps. It's a 25-mile race. And for you, Dylan Casey, this is quite a bit different from the kind of riding you've done. This is these bikes have just one gear, and of course you're used to the most sophisticated machines, but these Mongoose bikes are quite sophisticated, the best bikes that they've ever had in the race.
Well, you know, from my perspective, it's all about how fast you go. So it looks like they got the tools to do that, and you know, bike racing is bike racing.
And Dylan, trust me, a lot of these girls started out novices, and they might race Cat 4, Cat 5 in the summer competing. But a lot of them put 4 years into this, months and months, if not years. They're out there. They're great athletes in their own right, and they're ready to go.
So Kappa Alpha Theta making a move as a rider goes off the front, and of course, really no one breaks away per se, Jason, for very long if they do at all.
Well, that's where strategy comes into play. The teams with more overall depth, they'll want to string it out and make it more of a time trial. If you're a team in the race with a sprinter, somebody that you want to come around at the end, you'll try to keep it together. But look for teams like Kappa Kappa Gamma, as you see them going into turn 3. They're going to try to string it out all day, push the pace. So the teams that don't have quite the depth, will be hurting in the back of the pack.
Well, it is Kappa Kappa Gamma now pushing the pace, and they are off the front. Phi Mu is right behind. And at this point, let's check in with the 4th member of our broadcast team, Anne-Marie Bonas. Anne-Marie?
Hi guys, I'm out here in the middle of a very rambunctious Kappa Kappa Gamma cheering section, and I'm joined by a roommate of one of the Kappa Kappa Gamma riders, Meg Haney's roommate, Lissa Vandermeer. Lissa, how's it going?
It's great. We're so excited for today, and we're so happy to be here supporting our team.
Now, obviously, Meg has lived a very interesting, intense life this semester especially. What's it been like for her?
It's been so much fun living with her and seeing how much dedication and determination they put in to the 500, and we are so excited to be here supporting her today.
And this is her third year riding, and you know, not pulled off the #1 spot yet. How bad does she want this?
Oh, she is so excited, and she is so confident that they are going to do their best today, and we are here to support them 100%.
Absolutely. Well, we will throw it back up to you guys, and we'll wish Kappa Kappa Gamma the best of luck.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. As we get back to racing action, they're on lap number 4, and we've already had a couple of exchanges and are liable to see some more, which is also a very significant part of this race. There are 4 riders on each team, and they will exchange several times during the course of the race. So when we see our next exchange, we'll talk a little bit more about that. And at this point, Jason, everybody's sort of settling into the pace, and the lead has shifted several times.
Everyone's sort of settling in. Kappa Kappa Gamma's looked really strong on the front. Right now you see Alpha Phi pulling them along the backstretch. That's Meg Haney on the bike for Kappa Kappa Gamma. You just kind of see a rider pull to the right as Meg pulls through, and right on her wheel, that's Fimu, Annalisa Dejinko. Tough name to pronounce, but very strong rider. Look for them to kind of be duking it out all day.
Annalisa is a senior from Valparaiso, Indiana, excuse me.
Oh.
And we had a big crash as they come across to start lap 5.
We're going to see a yellow on that. That was Speed, Team Speed, who qualified in one of the first 9 rows. That's Speed right there. Unfortunate for them, as they have some veteran riders and could have been a contender.
So the yellow flag comes out. Everybody must hold position. And we look back again at this first crash.
You really can't tell what happened. It could have been maybe a rub of a wheel. Sometimes the track's a little rough in those corners, and what happens is we used to call it the yo-yo effect. It's strung out on the straightaway, but you get to the corner and they bunch up, and you might rub a wheel.
And here coming in for an exchange, and looks like the riders bumped, and that's why a couple went down.
As Dylan knows, it's not the rider in front that goes down. It's always the rider in the back, and I think that's what happened.
I'll tell you, I found myself on the ground more times than I could count from situations like that, so I know what it's like.
Well, Dylan, you can explain that maybe a little better because it's with your front wheel. If your front wheel hits somebody else's back wheel, then you lose control really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as your front wheel comes in contact, you lose all control.
But everybody's up, and it appears that all the teams have their riders back in the race. We're getting more exchanges now.
The leaders are coming out of team turn 4 right there, and that's Fimu on the front, looking really strong. You see her tapping her helmet. That's kind of an obvious way of saying, hey, I'm coming out next time around. If I was a competitor and I was not on Fimu, I'd see that they're coming out, and I'd try to mark their wheel. They're going to come in for exchange this next time around.
Well, we'll follow Fimu on this exchange because we would expect them to be one of the better teams at the exchange. And why don't you set the scene a little bit, Jason, for what happens on the exchange?
Well, what Fimu is trying to do right now, they're going to try to break away a little bit off the front because they want to give it a little gap or a little advantage for their teammate who's going to hop on next. So she's going to separate from the main field, get a little gap. Here she comes in. Let's watch this exchange. The other rider picks up speed. This is what we call the leap of faith, hopping on the bike.
And that is Annika Husney, a physical ed major from Downers Grove, Illinois. Her second year, or she's ridden 2 years in the race.
Yeah, look at Fimu, a very strong team. Annika and Annalisa were both in the top 10 in ITTs. They're kind of the veteran leaders of the crew. So what Annika's doing right now, she's going to have to negotiate her way through the back of the pack to try to catch back up.
And the field of racers has spread themselves all the way around the track.
There's an Athena exchange. That was a little bit different. They have 2 riders with maybe different heights, different seat post seat post heights. So what happens is the rider's going to coast in and then touch. It's called a tap, and then that triggers the next rider to hop on it to go ahead and take the bike and go with it.
Well, that's another interesting aspect of this race you bring up, is that the seat post height is fixed. And of course, Dylan, most riders have their seat post height adjusted down to millimeters, so it's exactly the way they want it. And to get on a bike that somebody else has ridden that might have been 2 or 3 inches taller or 2 or 3 inches shorter.
Yeah, that's definitely quite a challenge. Because we spend almost 2-3 weeks at the beginning of the season getting our bikes fine-tuned. So, when you jump on a bike that isn't perfect, it definitely throws you a little bit.
You can see Roadrunners. That's our two-time defending champion off the front there a little bit. Cycling in the summer and competitive road racing transfers right over to the Little Five. As the last 2 years, Roadrunners were led by Jen Wengaren, who's currently out at the Olympic Training Complex in Colorado Springs. She transferred her Little Five experience over very nicely, and I think she's gonna do some great things. So it's a pleasure to see. It's good to see Roadrunners still being a competitive team. They're off the front right now.
Roadrunners has won this 3 times, 97, 01, and 02, so they're actually going for a three-peat. That's the big story here. Can Roadrunner do it for a 3rd time? And Roadrunner in the yellow and off the front.
Well, Roadrunners had to serve a penalty, which you're not seeing on the screen right now. They're forced to chase. They're about a quarter lap down, and that is our defending champion in yellow.
Okay.
As the pack's kind of strung out right now by 5U. I think that's Annika. Look, she's even gapped the rider behind it. Kappa in white, also a strong team, trying to close that little gap. Theta tucked closely on her wheel. That's right where you want to be. You're seeing a wicked headwind down the front stretch, so it might be ideal to maybe get a little bit of drafting down the front stretch. Theta takes the pole. They're going to have to trade poles right now because they see Roadrunners off the back. What's going on? These two teams probably are aware that Roadrunners, our team in yellow, is off the back. So the 2 leaders, Theta and Kappa, are both up front. They're going to push the pace. This looks like a move, to be honest with you, as there's a lot of separation now between our 2 leaders and the rest of the pack.
So on lap 13, with Kappa Alpha Theta out in front, Kappa Kappa Gamma right behind, and Roadrunner trying to catch up. The situation unfolding here is one of great excitement at the 16th running of this, the women's Little 500. And that was the start of the women's race held earlier today. This is what Bill Armstrong Stadium looks like now, but tomorrow, well, you can expect some 20,000 fans to come in here and pack the place for the men's 53rd running of the Little 500. We'll take a look at the men's race when we return, and we'll also have more women's competition. Welcome back to HDNet's coverage of the Little 500. We'll have a preview of the men's race coming up. We're also going to see more of the women's competition. It's a one-day event, but it's not just one day that goes into making this event as great as it is. Let's check in again with Anne-Marie Bonas at Trackside.
You're so right, Greg. The riders here, they do have a one-day event, but it's literally non-stop training. I was talking to a former rider earlier today, and he said, this is known as an amateur event, but these people are anything but amateurs. It's really true. I talked to some of the Phi Delta Theta riders that are racing tomorrow in the men's race, and they gave us a little insight into how their training goes about.
Thank you, Greg. Well, we're here at the home of 2 Phi Delta Theta riders, Mike Stockman and Matt Ewing. And this team has had a very successful program, so we're going to talk with them a little bit today about their training program and what makes their team so successful. Now guys, obviously training goes on all year for you, summer, winter, every season, but what's your school year like? What's the training program?
Basically in August we start riding together as a team, focusing mainly on base miles, and as one of our coaches says, just time in the saddle is the most important thing. It's just basically getting out there and riding. And then middle October or so, we start weight training, and then gradually just start to get into a little more power work and speed work towards Christmas. And then Christmas break, we take some time and go down to Florida and just ride some more base miles and just have a little team camaraderie. And then after we get back from that, it's basically some more power work and speed work, and I'll let Matt talk about that.
Well, basically when we get back, the speed workouts really come into play. We concentrate on the type of gear we're going to be riding and really building the muscle so we can push that gear at a high rate. and the spin and the power to transfer over to the bike.
Sure. And you guys mentioned strength training. Does that, you think, give you a real competitive edge over some of the other teams that may not spend as much time focusing on that?
I definitely think so. It's a cinder track with a 1-gear bike, and you know, the more power you have and the better spin you have, you can spin that gear faster than anyone else. It's not like on a road where you have a lot of gears to choose from.
Sure.
And you can play with different gears. The more power you have, I think the more beneficial it is for you.
Definitely. Well, we're down to the final hours here for you guys. What's the last 48 hours before the race like for you?
We won't change too much. You don't want to get away from the routine that you've had all year. We stayed at a hotel last night, and we'll stay there again tonight, just kind of get away from the party atmosphere and just to get a good night's sleep and get ready for Saturday.
So you guys ready for the race and feel like you're going to do really well?
I think so. We feel pretty strong about our team. So
Good. Well, I wish you guys the best of luck, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And we'll send it back to you guys.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. Well, training for most people, that means suffering, a lot of work, a lot of sweating. But Jason Sonneborn, you used to love the training part of this.
Oh, yeah. Well, you always love it. You know, some kids are going to spring break to party in Texas or somewhere down in Florida. We would always head down to Gainesville, which is a great little cycling community. You go down there, you have a week centered around training. You have cooks, you have people that take care of you, have cooks that cook for you, you have coaches that coach you, you go out and motor pace. The main goal is to spend a lot of time on your little 5 bike. Get used to that gear and get ready to come back and tear it up in April here at Bill Armstrong Stadium.
Dylan Casey, you're pretty impressed, I understand, with the fitness level of these athletes. And few could be more fit than you as the U.S. time trial champion.
Well, you know, I'm really impressed. I think it really shows how much work that these guys put into it, and the fact that they go into isolation a couple of days before the race really shows that they're really serious come game time.
Guys and women. The women work just as hard as the men to get ready. And when we return to Bill Armstrong Stadium here on the campus of Indiana University, we will have more of the women's race. Stay with us. Two events this weekend in the Little 500. The men's race tomorrow. We'll have it live starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. The women's race held earlier today. They raced 100 laps. That is 25 miles. And let's go back and take a look at the women in mid-race action. Back at Bill Armstrong Stadium in Bloomington, Indiana, on the campus of Indiana University. The women in the Little 500 have started lap 45 out of 100, so they're just under about 25 miles of racing. And at this point, Jason Sonneborn, it is Kappa Kappa Gamma that is in control in the white. They are riding very strong. The rider out there right now is Meredith Horner, but they have been consistent and strong and tactically wise throughout these first 45 laps.
Yeah, it looks like she's coming out for an exchange right now, but you got to love this, and Dylan knows the feeling. She was 100% suffering off the front right there, trying to get a gap, trying to take care of her teammate. As you see, her teammate's going to hop on ahead of the leaders, and she's going to try to go with this lead and maybe, yes, here she goes. We'll see if she settles back into the pack or she continues on the attack and she tries to push the pace.
This is Meg Haney now riding for Kappa Kappa Gamma. And she has been in 2 previous Little 500s for the women. This team has won 3 times, 95, 98, and 99. And I have to say that they were staying at the same hotel that I was at last night. They came in, they had their own pillows. They were all set for a perfect evening of rest. They were going out for dinner. They wouldn't tell anybody where they were going or what they were having. And they were in great spirits and very, very confident that they were going to win this race today.
That's what I like to hear. These girls are serious.
So it is 100 miles, 100 laps, 25 miles. Each team with 4 riders. Team must change riders a minimum of 5 times during the race for the women. In the men's competition, they must exchange 10 times, but it is twice as long. So this is 50 miles for the women, 100 laps here at Bill Armstrong Stadium.
Look how comfortable, and Dylan knows what it looks like to be comfortable on a bike. Sitting on the front, right now it looks like she's not even breathing hard, but yet she's pulling the group along.
Yeah, you know, the damage has been done. She's just waiting to see what's going to happen.
If I was their coach, and they have a very good coach in Bill Noss, if I was their coach, I'd kind of wait for the next chance to attack. What you see right here, Theta's going to go out for an exchange. You're going to see a
crash.
Oh, there was a crash. That doesn't affect our leaders.
Going down, it looks like Zeta Tau Alpha. She's coming off the track. But again, as Jason said, the leader's not affected. After Kappa Kappa Gamma, it's Roadrunners who are in second place at this point. In third is Kappa Delta. In fourth is Kappa Alpha Theta.
Let's watch this exchange. This is going to be a Theta exchange. She's going to slide off the back of the bike. Oh, no, it's a bike to bike. That's when you ride by and you just touch the rider. The traditional Theta exchange, and Acacia does it the same way, they actually hop off the back of the bike. It's called a ghost exchange. No rider is on the bike at one time, and the bike just kind of rolls on its own. It's something that you won't see anywhere else.
That's probably the cleanest way you can do it.
That's their philosophy.
So let's talk about the exchanges for a second. Sometimes the riders exchange the actual physical bike. One gets off and one gets on the same bike. And sometimes there is a different bike and they can just touch and go on.
Yeah, if the rider's pretty much the same height, if they're comfortable, obviously there's a little deviation there as far as seat height goes. You might not be entirely comfortable, but if you're close to the same height, you try to use the same bike, do a same bike exchange, and that's actually a little bit quicker. The bike to bike, when you're using two separate bikes, slows you down a little bit.
Roadrunner making a nice exchange. They remain in second place as lap 50 is underway, the halfway point now in this 16th running of the women's Little 500 here at Indiana University.
Kappa pulling along the backstretch, still looking strong. You can see the rider right behind her. I'm not sure what team that is, team number 8, but she might be a lap or so down. She's getting a nice little pull right now, sitting behind our leader.
That's Kappa Delta. And we'll try to determine which rider from Kappa Delta it is.
Oh, that's team. Oh, here's a Kappa exchange on the outside. Beautiful exchange. You see that right arm extended. She hops on the bike quickly. She's thinking right now, I got to get it up to speed. I got to get back in there with the leaders.
So watch how hard she rides for this first lap that she is on.
That's Theta on the front. The Kappa girl is going to, let's watch that exchange again. She's going to start to run. This is when you're coasting. Rider on the back is going to slide off the back. Beautiful exchange, beautiful exchange. The goal is to keep everything in a straight line. As soon as things get horizontal and they're not in a straight line, that's when exchanges get ugly.
And we can see how hard the rider is working to pull back up to the rest of the field, to the leaders, and get in that commanding front position again.
Yeah, Kappa right back to the front. There's no doubt in my mind they are the strongest girl-for-girl team in this race today. Look for them to just kind of, they're going to try to ride this race hard and try to make the girls, the teams that don't have as much depth, they're going to struggle a little bit.
And how much drafting can you really do in this, Jason? Is the drafting pretty important strategy here?
Well, as Dylan knows as well, if you can sit behind somebody else and go at a pretty good clip, that's where you want to be. And I think the Kappa rider has a great strategy right now. They're going into a headwind. She's sitting second. She looks pretty well recovered. And if I'm Bill Noss in the pit for Kappa Kappa Gamma, I'm going to say sit in and then maybe attack them. It's the first chance you get.
Absolutely. You want to sit in on the headwind, and as soon as you come around the corner, you get a clear shot down the backstretch. I'd light it up.
And that's exactly what Allison Edwards is doing for Kappa Kappa Gamma.
That's Kappa Delta tucked right in behind them. They're on the lead lap as well. We got our 4 leaders all together. We have Roadrunners, Kappa Delta, Kappa Kappa Gamma, and Kappa Alpha Theta.
So again, it's the white that is Kappa Kappa Gamma. The yellow with the 11 on the outside here is Roadrunner. In the third position, team number 8. That's Kappa Delta in purple. And in fourth, team 6, Kappa Alpha Theta in orange.
Yeah, the prestigious color, what you want to be wearing today is yellow, and that's Roadrunners. The exchange that was just done there wasn't quite as good, didn't get a good gap, and you see our Roadrunner rider, she's going to have to chase a little bit as she comes around turn 2 to try to catch back up with those leaders.
So as we come into lap 55, it is Kappa Kappa Gamma that has been the dominant team and looks like it's set up to reclaim the title that they have won before. Roadrunner, the defending champion, right with them though. Another 25 miles to go in the 16th running of the women's Little 500. Well, that's the middle part of the race. When we return, we'll find out who won. We'll see the final laps, and we'll talk to the woman who led her team across the finish line first. the finals of the Women's Little 500 when we return to Indiana University and Bill Armstrong Stadium. Stay with us. The women's race, the final laps coming up as we return here to Bill Armstrong Stadium. Tomorrow the spotlight will shine on the men, but now let's go to those final laps of this exciting women's competition in the 16th running of the Little 500.
With 10 laps remaining, there has been a big change in the storyline here. It is Kappa Alpha Theta in the orange and in the yellow, Roadrunner, and they have been exchanging the lead for the last several laps. What happened to Kappa Kappa Gamma that seemed to have this race under control until, well, lap 62? And tell us what happened, Jason Sonnenborn.
Well, this is the bite of luck with Little 5. A rider that might be a lap or two down, rubbed wheels with the girl in front of her in yellow. When you're on the back and you rub your front wheel and you hit somebody in the front and you touch their back wheel, you're going to go down. And that was Pi Beta Phi that went down, and unfortunately they fell into Kappa Kappa Gamma. You scramble for a bike, you try to get going as quickly as you can, and it turns into a pursuit real quick.
Jill Klein was the rider that interfered with Kappa Kappa Gamma's Meredith Horner. What's happening down there now at the Kappa Kappa Gamma area? Let's check in with Anne-Marie Bonas.
Well, Greg, I am here in the Kappa Kappa Gamma pits, and I just talked to a couple people and got a little bit more information on the wreck that did occur. It was Meredith Horner, sophomore rider for Kappa Kappa Gamma, that fell down. She got no injuries at all during that fall. She's back up, got back up right away, in fact, needed no help at all and no medical attention. And I've just been told that the team is really buckling down. They've not given up yet, and they've just strengthened their resolve to figure out how they can get that half of a lap back. So that's about all there is from here.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. They're about 18 seconds behind Kappa Kappa Gamma. The lead now has shifted over to Roadrunner. And Dylan Casey, how will this race unfold now with just 8 laps to go?
Well, you know, I think the race is over. We're down. This is a 2-person race right now, and you can see them. The girls are working together, and there's a few laps left. They're really thinking about, okay, how are we going to win this race?
And if you were a coach, what would you be saying, Jason?
I think what we're going to see here pretty soon, we got Bill Noss, well, I'm sorry, not Bill Noss, but Tom Schwegler's the coach at Kappa Alpha Theta, Chris Sagoon for Roadrunners. They're thinking we got to get our sprinter on here soon. The real question in everyone's minds, who's going to come on for the sprint? On the bike right now is Elizabeth Milne for Kappa Alpha Theta, and that's Katie Zeller for Roadrunners. So they're cruising along, and they're trying to set up the sprinter. Or you could see one of them sneak and just stay out there and win the race right from the position they're in right now.
Yeah, you know, you got to really look at who your riders are, because we have a headwind tailwind situation here, and you have 2 riders, so it really matters how you set it up, because if you have the other person leading you out coming into the finish into a headwind, you're really going to be at a huge advantage. So the coach really has a huge role here.
And the moral of the story in Little 5's always been you want to win it on the backstretch. You want to win it going into turn 3. With this headwind, what you're going to see, you might see the girl draft coming all the way out of turn 4 and then take her on this front straightaway right at the start-finish line.
Yeah, but look, Roadrunner's really turning the screws right now.
That's Theta. That's Theta.
Oh,
off
that's
the
Theta.
front.
You're right.
Kappa Alpha Theta, and we got about a 30-yard gap here now.
Oh, this is a move.
Yeah.
This is a move that might stick.
And look at the girl, the Roadrunner. She's pedaling squares right now.
You're going to see an exchange. It looks like the Theta sprinter's coming on. Let's watch this exchange. It's crucial.
Watch out, she's got some traffic.
Coming on for Theta is Nicole Vincent. So Theta probably has their last rider up as we commence lap 95, just 5 to go in this 100-lap, 25-mile race, the 16th running here of the Women's Little 500. And the storyline will unfold in these remaining laps, and it's just 2 teams in the running, Roadrunner in the yellow and Kappa Alpha Theta in the orange.
So check out the Theta rider. She's just kind of tucked in there behind the Roadrunner. She's kind of hiding out.
Yeah, Nicole Vincent, she's a strong rider. Theta's got a lot of tradition. They've had Ann Holterhoff helping out with them for years.
Yeah.
Who's a great racer. I'd say Nicole's probably got a strategy. It's going to be sit in a little while and then either make their move or take it on the last lap. But right now she's just kind of sitting in and recovering. Roadrunners riders doing a lot of work right now.
Yeah.
We're
a quarter of the way through lap 96. Do they have to be careful about the other traffic here? They've got to think about that as they're setting up for this last lap, don't they?
Absolutely, absolutely. Traffic, especially in this situation, could have a huge outcome on the finish. They're going to have to really be careful.
In the yellow, Roadrunner. Roadrunner has won this race 3 times, 97 and the last 2 years. They're looking for the three-peat.
If you're the Roadrunner team, you got to be ecstatic. They've defended the yellow jersey with a lot of class today. They lost their best rider. They traded coaches this year, but they're showing up at the track, and the tradition carries on. You got to be ecstatic if you're in the Roadrunner pit.
And then Kappa Alpha Theta in the orange. They have also won 3 times, 94, 95, and 2000. So these have been the 2 teams that have been dominant over the last 6 years or so.
As I mentioned, Kappa Alpha Theta's got a great program. They're coached by Tom Schwegler, who's been around as long as I can remember, and I think he's been around since the inception of the women's race. Always coached Theta. Look for coaching to come into play a lot here in the last couple laps, and how knowledgeable these women are about how to finish off a race.
They're on lap 98 now.
That's Katie Zeller on the bike for Roadrunners. I think she's doing a lot. She's doing a lot of work. If I'm Theta, I'm feeling pretty good about sitting behind Roadrunners right now and wait until the last couple laps to take the lead.
Yeah, Jason, why isn't the Roadrunner coach jumping up and down now, telling her to get off the front?
That's a great question. Because she's obviously, if you look at her face, you can kind of see her. She's working. She's working hard. I don't know if she realizes the Theta girl's right on her tail and drafting and doing 40% less work, but she is.
Yeah, absolutely. She's just tucked in there. She's waiting. She's licking her chops.
And Dylan, you know how it is to be a sprinter. This is what you want. We see the white flag come out. Let's see when the Theta rider makes her move.
Well, the final lap is underway.
Can you win it from the front? That's a question that always looms around.
No, here's the move. Here's the move.
It's over.
Kappa Alpha Theta. Nicole Vincent.
She can start waving to the crowd now.
It's time to zip up that jersey.
That's
she's won the 16th running of the women's Little 500.
Yeah, there we go.
Great move.
Great move. Tactically beautiful race.
You gotta. Oh, this is beautiful.
There it is.
And there's the checkered flag for Nicole Vincent, a biochemistry major. And she has taken it for her team, Kappa Alpha Theta, and they have stopped Roadrunner from winning 3 in a row. Roadrunner will finish in 2nd place.
Congratulations to the Theta girls. This is their 4th win. Tom Schwegler, he deserves it. He works hard enough. Picked up another win. That's a great effort. And that, if you think about it, Dylan, that was tactically so sound what they did the last 5 laps.
Look at this satisfied expression. She rode a brilliant race. Kappa Alpha Theta.
That's Tom right there, the longtime coach. He hasn't settled down yet. If you know him, you know he's always on edge, and he's still thinking about the details.
So a great day here of racing despite the inclement weather, the headwinds. A good crowd, a big crowd turns out for the 16th running of the women's Little 500, and it's Kappa Alpha Theta taking the checkered flag. Roadrunner had looked for that three-peat, didn't get it, finished 2nd, and in 3rd, well, it looks like it is team number 8, Kappa Delta. Kappa Kappa Gamma had that bad break, an unfortunate crash on lap 62. And that's the way the story has turned out here in this 16th running. Congratulations to Kappa Alpha Theta, victory number 4. And Kappa Alpha Theta joins us now. Congratulations, ladies. Huh? Oh, you've done all your cheering in, Coach. Let me have you introduce yourselves.
I'm Liz.
Give me your whole name.
Oh, Liz Milne. Nicole Vincent.
The lady who rode that final lap so well.
I'm Katie Beyer.
Lucretia Fernandez. I'm Lee Frame.
Congratulations to all of you on a brilliant day of riding. Jason, I know you have a couple of questions you'd like to ask.
Well, tactically, Nicole, that was a beautiful finish of the race. You sat in, you were doing less work, and then you approached the line with 1 lap to go. What were you thinking as you crossed the line with 1 lap to go?
I was kind of boxed in, and I was thinking I just needed to get out. And I tried to talk with the girl in blue on the side of me and say, "Can you help me out?" And she really didn't help me out, but I got an open and I just took it coming out of turn 2. So.
Well, it was really impressive because when you won on the backstretch, you really went. And there was a gap that opened up immediately, and that was an impressive acceleration. That's how you win.
Yeah, it was. Well, we had practiced that a lot. Practice running at the end of the race, and you just know that you have to just jump. And once you jump, you got it, and that's what I did.
Well done, well done. Tom, you picked up, this is the 20th anniversary of your first win. You've picked up wins as both a men's coach and a women's coach.
Jason, I've been pretty fortunate. I've had some really remarkable athletes to coach, and they've been wonderful. And these are 5 who are just unbelievable. You're a great coach when you have a great team, and I've been blessed with very, very great teams.
Well, I think it's reciprocal. I think you give some, you take some. You've done something for it as well.
Well, it's, the thing is, for these girls, it's more than doing 100 laps on a bike track. It's about finding out what they're about and what their goals can be and how they reach those goals and expand their horizons.
Well, they expanded everybody's horizons today with your brilliant ride. Congratulations again to Kappa Alpha Theta and you fine riders. I'm sure that we'll see some of you back on the track again next year. When we return, we will have a preview of the men's race. Again, the men's race live tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on HDNet. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, we shift from women to men, and we have a couple of the top men riders here who will be competing tomorrow in the 53rd running of the men's Little 500. Gentlemen, introduce yourselves. Tell us which team you're riding for.
I'm Kevin Vanes. I ride for Acacia Fraternity. I'm John Grant, and I ride for Gafambi.
So a little rivalry here between the two of you. What's your forecast for tomorrow?
I see us two coming down at the end with me getting them out of 4.
Well, I think there's a lot of good teams out there, and it's going to be a close race, and I hope to be there in a sprint with Kevin.
They're both being kind of modest, Jason. What do you think?
Well, they are both being modest. Right here we have 2 of the best riders on the track. John, you won individual time trials, team pursuit, and missing out. So arguably the best Little 5 rider on the track. What does being a Little 5 rider mean to you, and how do you prepare for something like this?
Being a Little 5 rider, it's, I think the best thing about Little 5 being in Bloomington and at IU is the amount of people that ride in the community. It's, it's cycling's very disciplined sport, and it's nice to have a lot of people to do it with. The month before the race, a lot of time is spent with the team, but in the summer and the fall, it's great to go out and ride with guys from other teams and other people that ride in town.
Can you tell me a little bit about the conditioning that you do coming into this race?
Well, in the summertime, there's a lot of racing that goes on, and then in the fall, it's longer base miles and doing some weight training. And then once the track opens up, this year's opened up a little late due to the weather conditions, but just getting on the track as much as possible and getting a lot of track work in.
What about today?
Today, relaxing. Got to watch a great women's race and getting a big meal, talking a little team strategy and resting up.
The women, of course, race 100 laps. The men race 200 laps. So it's going to take a little bit more of the strong head as well, not just a strong physical body.
Yeah, it's a very, very long day out there, and more than anything, it's mentally taxing. You've been training all year long, and the differences physically between people really get minimalized, and it really comes down to who wants it more and who's got the right frame of mind and comes up with the best strategy.
Well, today we had pretty difficult weather for the women's race, a lot of wind, some rain. We have our own very special meteorologist on our staff, Anne-Marie Bonas. I think she's been predicting the weather now for about an hour and a half. Can we get a forecast from you, Anne-Marie, down on the track? What are they saying for tomorrow?
More like about 50 minutes, but the prediction for tomorrow's weather is much better. It's supposed to be in the mid to upper 60s with a little sunshine, and I'm no racing expert, but I think that's pretty good racing weather.
When we come back. Well, thank you, Anne-Marie. We look forward to better weather tomorrow and obviously a very exciting race. You got some thoughts on what we're going to see tomorrow?
I think we're in for a real race tomorrow because I can tell these guys are serious.
Jason?
The same thing said as Dylan said. I think we have we're going to have a competitive race, a pretty balanced race. Different teams looking to do different things tactically. It's going to be a fun race to watch. Looking for a good day weather-wise, and we'll have a great crew up there to commentate.
Have you got any predictions? Who are the teams we should be watching for?
Well, to be honest, Greg, there's really 2 teams that have kind of stood out all spring. The Corleones, our defending champion, led by Dan Burns, and then John Grant, who we just spoke with on Team Gafambi, both independent teams, but look for them to be around at the end.
Dylan, what do you think these guys should be doing tonight to get ready for the race tomorrow? What would you be doing if you were competing in this? Because we know there's a lot of partying going on tonight on the campus after the women's race. A lot of people are celebrating.
Well, Greg, you heard it earlier. These guys are camped out at hotels. They're trying to get away from everything. They want to have as few distractions as possible. They want to have their legs up, just relaxing, kind of keeping the normal routine. They want to visualize winning tomorrow. That's what it's all about.
You retired 3 months ago. Does this make you feel like you'd like to be back out there racing again?
Greg, I'll tell you, it's really exciting to be here, and it's a real honor to see this event because I think it's events like this that get cyclists into it so much and then eventually leads to professional careers. So for me, it's really coming full circle.
And I can just sense that if you were a student, you'd be out there, you would love to be racing one more time.
Yeah, that's the struggle that you have as an alumni. You come back and you see it, and you love it. You have that passion for it, but it's you still wish you could be out there one more time because they enjoy it so much, and it's a lot of fun.
Few people understand that the Little 500 riders here, well, they're as celebrated as the football players, and, well, maybe not quite as much as the basketball players, but more than some of the swimmers and divers and other athletes here who are on D1 scholarships. Everybody loves this event. When we come back tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern Time here on HDNet, we will have the 53rd running of the men's Little 500. It will be a spectacular race. It's been a great day for Anne-Marie Bonas and Dylan Casey. Jason, we'll see you tomorrow. I'm Greg Lewis. Bye-bye.